Hey everyone,
Yeah,
I am Lori with Live Backstage and Positive News for You. We are sitting down with Jonathan Mancha today. He's a musician, and we're just going to ask him some questions, get to know him a little bit more, and talk about his music. Hey Jonathan, how you doing?
good. How you doing, Lori?
I'm pretty good, thank you. Let's see, we'll get right into it. I like talking to musicians and getting behind the scenes of how they work and they think and how they write and get inspired. I hear you play several instruments. How did you get started?
Yeah, I play like acoustic guitar, like lead electric, bass, and some cello. So pretty much like I can figure out anything with strings. um, yeah, I started. I was probably around like 12 or 13 at the time, and my dad was doing some worship leading at a church at that point in time,
Mhm.
and I had watched him play, and he had played around the house and stuff, like guitar and whatnot. And
Yeah.
so it interested me enough that I said, hey, this might be a cool thing to learn, especially because that point I was going to have some kind of courses in high school and stuff to do music or something of that sort. So I said, hey, let me pick up guitar. And so he kind of helped me learn the basics. And from there, I like fell in love with it within the first few months.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's easy enough to do.
Yeah.
So guitar was the first instrument you picked up. What was the first instrument that you bought for yourself? Was it a guitar?
Yes, it was. It was an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
So when I first started, it was actually a birthday present when I was 13. And that was my initial one. But, as you start playing, you start recognizing that maybe like the starter instruments aren't nearly as cool as as some of the other ones. So yeah, it was like an upgrade on the acoustic guitar was my first buy.
That's awesome. Do you remember what kind it was? Do you still have it?
I don't have it. I actually gave it away, but I used it for a really long time. Yeah, it was a Yamaha, and I can't remember the model number, but it was like um, a black mini jumbo is what they call it. It's like a
Yep.
smaller body, but it had like a pickup in it and everything. And I used it for, man, it must have been like 10 years probably, and it was still like doing pretty well, but I gave it
Ooh.
to a friend because I upgraded once again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What do you use now? Do you still use a Yamaha or did you pick up something else?
uh, I actually changed. Yeah, I really like Taylor guitars, and
Yes.
then I really like Martin. Like all the big names are like really great when it comes to acoustics.
Yeah.
But it's like at this point, it's more about just like trying to find a guitar that I kind of connect with the sound. Like there's just some tonal differences and whatnot. So I actually got a Seagull, is the name of the brand, and it's
Mhm.
a Canadian based brand, and it has a folk body, so it's really good for finger style
That's cool.
guitars
Yeah.
or guitar playing. And yeah, I really like it a lot.
Oh, I've never heard of that brand before. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
Seagull, as
it's
in like
really
the
cool.
bird.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh, nice. All right. So you've been on a couple worship teams. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah. My first, the first when I first started playing, about 13, took me a couple years to get comfortable enough to like actually, play with other people, other musicians. And so about 15, I started playing on a worship team at a local church, village church. It was in Swansea, New Hampshire. And yeah, I jumped right in, just playing acoustic mainly. And then they had me, and I forgot to mention that maybe like 6 months to a year into playing acoustic, I started singing too, because I just wanted to try it out and see if I was good at it at all, and I was decent enough at it. So yeah, so I started playing acoustic and singing for that worship team, and then after playing guitar for a while, I got it's kind of like an addiction. You just keep wanting to like learn more and more and more.
Yeah.
So I was playing just rhythm acoustic, and then I got into lead electric and started rotating on the team, playing all those different things.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Yep.
Yeah.
And you also write your own music?
Yeah. Actually, I started writing my own stuff back at that church, and I actually wrote some music for like worship itself. Like we as a team played some of the songs just it's cool to like kind of give voice to like what's going on in a particular, like a particular church or particular area. So we started kind of like writing some songs and fell in love with that as well. And I've been writing songs like ever since. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. There's got to be differences between just going up on stage at the church and leading people to worship and performing your own music. If you've performed out before, what are like the differences between playing at like a church versus playing just a regular gig?
Yeah, I think it's almost a little less different than I was expecting it to be.
Okay.
Because like worshiping, when you're doing like music in a church, obviously everybody's kind of joining together, the congregation, the team, and it's just about like praising God and kind of bringing perspective and who we are and who God is and all that kind of thing. And maybe you can't really get away from like the performance element no matter what you do, because there's like no matter, some people will say you're playing your own music out live and it's more performance based than like worship, but at the same time you still have to kind of have a performance element even in worship to put out like good instrumentation or good vocals or whatever. There's still that element, so it's not as different as I thought it would be. I think the big thing is it's just like people are maybe a little more in tune with you as opposed to maybe in a church they're more in tune with trying to just like encounter God or be sensitive to like what they feel like God's trying to speak to them. And yeah, so there's a little difference, but it's not as big a chasm as you would think, or chasm as you would think.
Yeah, I've been trying to picture that in my head. I'm like, there's got to be some differences, but at the same time, you still have rehearsals and practices because you have to have that musicianship, as close down as you can, so that it's not just a mess up on stage. But then, yeah, you're trying to lead people into worship, where when you're at a gig, you're just performing to entertain, I guess. But and then you get crowd reactions, one way or another.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I think sometimes too is like in regular settings or venues doing your own music, if you're creating stuff from your heart and stuff, there's still an element, like especially if you're like connected to God and whatnot, there's an element of worship in it no matter what.
True.
So it's like, yeah, it's a give or take, like it's a mix of everything, I guess.
Speaking of, so pretty much all music connects with the soul. Worship music also connects with the spirit. Is there a particular worship song or even group that just brings you directly into, the presence? Is there one that's like your favorite?
Yeah, so I've really gotten into Upper Room lately. I like Upper Room a lot. I love Maverick City music. They have some just awesome stuff, and I really like them because they're just they kind of get out of the quintessential like worship music that sometimes you can hear like a lot of repetitive, like whether it be melodies or lyrics. They have like a little twist, and it's really good. I love that. I love Dante Bowe. He's in Maverick City, but he also does other stuff. And I love, I'll shamelessly plug the last church that we were at, Life Point Church in Chicopee, Mass. Their worship team's like amazing, and I think they're working on an album, and they're really great. And I love playing with them and stuff too.
Oh yeah, yep. All right, we're going to switch over. We're going to talk about your music. What are you currently working on? Any particular projects?
Yeah, so I'm writing a bunch right now because I'm planning on. It's nice because I'm a relatively unknown artist, so I can kind of do a lot of different things, and it doesn't like mess with people's heads because I'm not like well known yet. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do like a series of singles of songs that I'll be releasing, or I might do like another EP of like 5, 6 songs, maybe even do 2 EPs of 5 or 6 songs. But mainly I've been trying to write, and then we just moved to Nashville, so kind of connecting with different producers and stuff in the area, and seeing who really hits it off with me and I hit it off with them, and likes my songs enough to want to put their stamp on it too, or whatever. So that's kind of, so I'm working on new music for the most part.
That's great. You mentioned, I think you said something about do you have music out previously?
Yeah, I have pretty much anywhere you get your music, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever. I have an acoustic EP, a worship EP that I wrote back in 2016, but then I also have newer stuff that I just put out. I put out a 3-song EP this year called Thoughts, and then I also released 2 singles. One of them was Wander, and the most recent one is Nobody Taught It, and they're all available everywhere.
Oh, perfect. We'll have to look that up. We'll put some links too, so people can follow the links to and listen to the music.
Cool. Yeah.
You said you just moved to Nashville. What do you think of it so far? And are you making some connections in the music business?
It's cool. It's definitely a cool place. Like we had mentioned before, we started recording. The winter is not nearly as bad as New England, so that's that's nice. And it's a lot of people like doing similar thing as me, which is just trying to kind of get their foot in the door in the music industry and making music. And so that's really cool. Everywhere you go, there's like live music. Even like clothing boutique stores have like somebody in the corner like strumming a guitar and stuff. It's fun.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we've only been here about not even 2 months yet, so I haven't made too many connections.
Oh yeah.
I've talked to a few friends that are doing stuff too, that write for people and whatnot, which has been great. I'm hoping to make more connections as the year develops.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Down there, I hear that they're everywhere. So hopefully somewhere you'll be able to find a group to connect with them.
That's the tricky thing too, is there are so many people doing this kind of thing. It's very relational based, it seems like, down here. So because there are so many, you kind of go with the person so that's like the trickiest part, is kind of getting into the space and getting people to know you and whatnot. But
what style do you play, and who are your influences?
So when I first started playing and writing, it was more or less I'd say it was kind of like, it was worship music, but it had like maybe a little folk element to it or whatever type thing. And then I kind of got more into like pop and pop rock. But I kind of found myself the last few years really getting into, it's still got a little bit of like pop rock element, but it's almost a little more like Americana folk rock type stuff. And so that's kind of been I feel like I'm developing into that. It's kind of like fitting into a glove a little bit, and that's what I've been really enjoying. I'd say probably my biggest influences, I've always loved John Mayer a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Oh yeah.
John Mayer. I actually really like Maroon 5 and like Adam Levine and stuff, but not that my music's much like theirs, but I loved them, especially early on. Maroon 5.
Yep.
Yeah. And singer-songwriter stuff. I love Bruce Springsteen, James Taylor, Bob Dylan. I love Tori Kelly. She's more on the pop and gospel spectrum, I guess. But yeah, all of those kind of, you try to take what you can, and all of those people are so talented, so you can't like mimic them. You can't really mimic them. You just try to take what you can do and connect the dots with it. But yeah.
Absolutely. Have you gigged out at all, besides playing worship at church? Have you played out at any shows or anything on your own?
I played out with I was actually playing some acoustic guitar for a country duo before we moved to Nashville for a little bit, and we played out in like Boston at Loretta's and such. And then moving here, I haven't yet, but I'm hopefully gonna get on some of the writers rounds at like the Listening Room, um, Commodores, and there's like a few other venues that do that specifically. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna definitely be in the next couple months jumping on board of that.
That'd be great, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, get in front of more people.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. What are your goals for the next like year or two?
That's a good question. So I'd love to maybe in the next year to year and a half um, put out like another at least another like 5 to 6 song EP, and then if I can get enough buzz, I'd love to be able to get onto or have a management team, a music management team here in Nashville that would work with me to just booking gigs and working on projects and marketing and all that kind of thing. But usually it takes a little bit of buzz to get them to want to work with you. So that's kind of my goal in the next year to year and a half. And but it's one of those things. Could be faster, could be a little longer.
Mhm.
Just have to kind of have patience and ride it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like you're saying too, Nashville's just so saturated. It's probably a
Right.
little bit of a chore, but I'm sure you'll get there. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that want to help out. So
Right.
finding them's the problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
if somebody were to sneak into your playlist, who would they be surprised to find on there? Like who do you listen to that would surprise people?
I don't know if it would surprise necessarily, but um there's two artists. I should have actually said one of them on the which ones have I, take or have influenced me the most. One of them is John Mark McMillan. I really love him, and he's great because he's kind of in that Christian indie space where there's like he's not CCM, but he's not also like straight up secular, and he has a really cool balance of like writing and stuff that everybody can kind of appreciate and connect with. And so I love him, and I have a ton of him on my playlist. And then probably maybe the most surprising one would be like John Bellion. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but
No.
he he's a really great writer, but he tends to be like much more electronic based, which is not usually what I would tend to go for. But I really like him, so yeah,
Oh, I'll have to check them out. That sounds interesting.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
like if Pixar if Pixar made pop rock music, that would be John Bellion. Yeah.
I love that. That's a great visual right there. That's awesome. All right. So let's see. Is there anything that we haven't gone over that you'd be interested in talking about real quick?
um, I guess I'd just say to any other, musicians that are working towards, hopefully being full-time musicians and being professionals and all that, I just encourage them, say, to like be themselves. Don't try to fit into anything that maybe would be put upon you by other people, but just, work at what you do, find what it is that you love to do within music and within the genres that you play, and just believe that God's going to work things out and He'll open the right doors at the right time for you, and just stay faithful to that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's some really good advice right there.
Oh, cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I guess our time is up, and I really appreciate you taking your time to talk with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Maybe in the future we'll catch up and see how things have developed and everything, and we can
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
a glimpse
That'd
of
be
what
great.
Nashville, music life is like.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. And if people are on Instagram, they can follow my music page, Jonathan David Mancha Music. That's the handle. And I'll probably be posting, like stories and stuff and photos from Nashville and like what's going on. So if they ever want to people want to see what's going on in my life, but also get a little taste of the Nashville music scene. Hopefully they can check that out.
Perfect. And is there anywhere else you want them to check you out as well? Facebook, YouTube, anything like that?
Mainly Instagram is the one I use. I do have a TikTok as well that I'll put like stuff on, like if I'm doing sometimes I'll just do acoustic versions of songs and that kind of thing, so they could check that out as well. If they just search my name, it would come up. Yeah, any streaming platform, like I said, if they want to look up the music, it's cool.
All right, very good. Well, thank you again. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Lori. Thanks.
Thank you. Yep, bye.